Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. Good morning to those in Hong Kong. Good morning to those in Canada. It's my greatest pleasure. My name is Grace Lau, Deputy Head of Invest Hong Kong in Canada. And I just want to say on behalf of Christopher Chen, Head of Invest Hong Kong in Canada, and also with our Head of ETO, the Director of ETO, Bill Wong, I'm representing them to be out here today. So thank you so much for having us, and thank you, Madeline, Alex, Patrick, for having us out here. It's an amazing opportunity, and just to let you everyone know, we actually have over 70 delegates from Canada who came over with us this visit. A round of applause to all the delegates, please. Really important. And also thanks to my Hong Kong TDC partner in crime, Martin So, right? Thank you. So I want you, all those here today, especially those who've lived out here for a while, could you please help us welcome all the other fellow Canucks who came out here? Because, just like what Steve mentioned earlier, it's like that welcoming part, right? And it makes it really exciting for those who've never been to Hong Kong to actually see what it's really like out here. So thanks to all of you guys for giving them that warm welcome, and also hoping, that they will stay on, to do business out here. But without further ado, I have three lovely gentlemen sitting on my panel today. Now, it's very interesting. All of them come from very different panels, from industries. And the key thing, as you can see, our panel today is about diverse entrepreneurs, new investment opportunities, and highlight businesses expanding into Hong Kong and the region, how business leaders are shaping the next wave of growth. Now, I'm not kidding you. I spent a lot of time with most of them. For those I didn't get to spend a lot of time with, but I went to all the videos if I could find. Not that I'm stalking them, but I need to know about them, right? So maybe I'll start off with each of them, all right, where you folks, can you just give a snapshot who you are and what problem in the world you're trying to solve? Maybe that would be the best start. Can we give them a round of applause for us? Thank you. Francis?
Thank you, Grace. Good morning. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. My name is Francis Poon, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of NexoData. We have a special opportunity and a very game-changing solution in the cybersecurity field. What is happening right now is there is a runaway problem. A lot of it is you hear in North America, but it's hitting Hong Kong as well, and that's the big damages of ransomware. Okay, it is a runaway problem. It's a $57 billion damage problem as of last year, and it's growing 5x in the next 5 years. And the biggest reason why that is happening is because of this area called data exfiltration. Is the ability for the hackers to take your corporate data and then hold you at multiple levels of extortion. Right? Not only extorting your company, but also the victims of your clientele. And so nothing is there in the market that protects you after the breach. Okay? Cybersecurity has been around for a long time, and everything is there. Network detection, your Face ID, all these things are there to protect you and the corporates from a breach happening. But like I said, it's a growing problem. 95% of these hit your critical repositories in your backup, and 60% of the time they're being successful. So what we do is we will treat your backup data, and to protect you, render the stolen data useless, which ultimately protects you from the breach, okay, or after the breach. And that is game-changing, because what happens is when you have a breach, you have a big serious problem as a C-suite. The breach response is horrendous. You're talking about $8 to $25 million per incident, and worse yet, you have to report to the authorities within a certain time frame. If it's critical infrastructure, it's within 12 hours. And then you have lawsuits on your hands, you have regulatory fines, and you have potential, well, not potential, very real reputational damage as well. Anyways, don't want to scare everybody, but it's really game-changing what we're here to do. It's something we started, it could commercialize in Canada, which I'll talk about why Canada. Because Invest Alberta actually helped us enter into that space there. But really glad to be here. Good to see familiar faces, and I'll leave it to
Greg next. Yep. Thank you, Francis.
Okay, Francis, that was very scary. We actually just, as a C-suite, we just role-played that exact scenario.
Yes.
And tried to figure out what to do. But for those of you who aren't familiar, I am co-founder and CEO of Endowus. Endowus is a conflict-free wealth management platform. And I guess the problem we're trying to solve here is to help people invest better to live better. And what we realized is three things were missing in the existing market. One was access to institutional quality product. Number two was evidence-driven advice. So advice not driven by speculation, similar to the way the endowments invest, which is why we're called Endowus. It's bringing endowment investing to all of us. And number three, and probably the most important and really driving one and two, is conflict-free fees. So what that means is, as a platform, starting from a blank slate, we don't earn commissions from fund managers, and we don't earn transaction fees from clients. So we're not incentivized to churn our clients, and we're not incentivized to push them high commission products. Today, we work with over 100 global fund managers. We've grown to about 10 billion US in client assets. We're probably the fastest growing wealth platform in Asia, working across all asset classes from cash management, all the indexing and equities and fixed income, active managers, multi-strat hedge funds, private equity, private credit, infrastructure, et cetera. And we serve clients on an AUM basis. So the only way we can make more money off them is if their AUM grows. And we think that bringing this to the market is actually quite common in other places in the world, is really, really important for Asia right now, which is aging very quickly. And fun fact, we have tons of Canadian clients who are living in Hong Kong, because there are tons of Canadians living in Hong Kong. And they really actually resonate with this mission, because oftentimes they've been served by similar platforms in Canada, but have struggled to find something reasonable in Hong Kong.
Thank you so much, Greg. Ken, your story, and also the challenge you're trying to solve.
So, hi, I'm Ken from Kensana Health, and we're a Canadian company, but we work in multiple areas around the world, and in Germany and Australia, and now in Asia, starting here in Hong Kong. And first, before I get into what we're trying to change and help the world, I just want to any companies that are looking at this as a destination spot to move your company to, I've just been completely embraced by the Hong Kong government, the community, the Canadian, the chamber, the entire ecosystem to bring us here and to support us has been just unbelievable. And so highly recommend Canadian companies. And obviously the earlier panel talking about the gateway, and that gateway's been there forever, but where Canada sits positioning wise, it's a huge opportunity. And I think I beat Carney into Beijing by a couple months. I'm already negotiating with the Chinese to have our business open up in a collaborative partnership with the government there. And so now that our challenge, I'm not going to get too deep back into how this all come about, because I don't get through that story very well. It's pretty emotional, but there's 1.6 trillion in drug sales in the world in 25, roughly. 90% of those drugs were made from synthetic compounds of copies from plants. Okay, that's projected to be 3.5 trillion in 2035. Now, our technology, developed in Canada over quite a few years, is able to put a plant into a special chamber. We call it an EMOB, environmentally modified organism bioreactor, and we can recreate the plant at the standard deviation for biological drug development. So the drug is coming from the plant. There is no synthetic copies of this. This is actual compounds, and it's pretty easy to understand why I'm here. There's not anybody with Asian descent in this room that hasn't had traditional Chinese medicine. It's been used for thousands of years. It's all mainly based on plants. And whether people understand this or not, in 1950, the Chinese government wanted to attempt to standardize traditional Chinese medicine plants to become actual medicines, like recognized Western medicines. They got more serious in 1980 and 90, but in every 5-year plan, from 11th through to the 15th, written in the plan is to standardize TCM plants to elevate them to full drug status. And this has been a stated goal for a long time. Our technology enables those plants to become drugs. And so that's and if you look at other stats, the World Health Organization, 80% of the population of the planet believes that a plant-based medicine is safer with less side effects. And it's generally not that all plants are safe, because some plants aren't, but the pathway is no different. We're not talking about a nutraceutical here. We're talking about a prescription medicine. So all the way through the US, like FDA level, our first product is a patented formula for chronic wounds. We're entering a phase 3 trial. We've got patents on that issued already in multiple countries. Probably around 2 billion population of the planet areas covered in our patents on that. Coming here, they were really impressed with how we got patents on plant compounds and our technology that will enable to make drugs of the future directly from the plant. We've used plants for millions of years. Now we have technology to go back to use the plant itself.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. So what you can all see, all three of them are disrupting the individual industries. That's an amazing part. So I'm hoping to find out, why did you pick Hong Kong? What is it about Hong Kong that you folks are interested in? And also thank you for the compliments about, with the Hong Kong government, Canadian government, all of us, you can see we work very tight together, closely in a collaborative manner. And I hope, you will enjoy, by the end of today, you're going to see how TransPacific Conference actually brings everyone together. That's the beauty of it. So Francis, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Grace. So I gave you the horrific situation with ransomware. I'm going to qualify my answer with why Hong Kong with what we're doing with these solutions. So imagine, I said, the breach response is quite daunting, is very disruptive to the C-suite. So what we're looking at is the ability to ability that we render the stolen data useless. And the so what to that is that your breach response is highly mitigated. So imagine the reporting to the authority is not at the 12-hour limit. Maybe it's at the 40-hour because it's not that material breach, or even eliminated as well. Your fines or ransom demands, that's all goes out the door. So who needs that? Well, those are mature corporations, right? Established banks, critical infrastructure, utilities, hospitals. Hospitals actually are very in urgent need of this because, for example, in Ontario in 2023, there were 5 hospitals on the same network that was infiltrated at the same time in southwestern Ontario. They were shut down for months. They had to go to manual processes, and worse yet, cancer patients had to be moved to get treatments. Right, so you're talking about really serious situations here, and imagine the point where that the systems doesn't have any of those corporate challenges, and it becomes an IT recovery process, which is very a very run-of-the-mill thing for an IT operation. So Hong Kong. So come back to that question. A long-winded way to go about it is that Hong Kong has the mature corporations with the mature IT infrastructure that could that instantly uses plugin to enhance their cybersecurity posture, right? Then Hong Kong has the reference markets to also other places that are emerging in Southeast Asia or in the Asia Pacific region, right? I think a lot of our corporates do that as well, but as a startup, we're here to enable that next leg of our innovation area, which is cybersecurity posture. Right, so that makes a lot of sense for us. The other side, which is the theme of the conference, is we're in the business of trust. Right, cybersecurity is ultimately in the business of trust, and you need relationships of trust to open doors to this very at first seem like very disruptive thing, which is very risky in certain ways. That's where with a Canadian network of like-minded individuals that know where you're coming from, such as CanCham, such as Hong Kong CBA, such as our friends with Invest Hong Kong, etc. That makes it so much easier because as a startup, speed to market is our surviving posture. So yeah, a little bit.
So, but Francis, just want to ask one more thing, because the technology that you have, if I remember correctly, is somehow it's able to break into different pieces. So yes. Even if someone wants to take one or two pieces, they do not have access to all the data. Is that correct? My understanding.
Yeah, so if you don't mind me, I know this is a business conference, but I'll talk a little bit about the technology as well. And feel free to come over. We'll show you the demos and the booth in the room there. Basically, what we do is we took a data science that's not traditionally used in cybersecurity, and we're crossing into cybersecurity. What it does is it breaks up your data files, encrypts it, shards it, and then distributes the data backup files into fragments and puts them into a distributed multi-cloud environment, multiple data centers or multiple nodes, where one node or one data center doesn't have enough fragments to form back the data. So when a site gets compromised, they actually don't have enough pieces to form back the data file, right? And you as the operator or as a corporate, you still have your other sites to keep going because you have your other sites to bring your backup files intact, right? And this is fully configurable, and it plugs and plays into your existing infrastructure. There's no rip and replace, so we can install into a corporate multi-site, multi-jurisdictional environment within a day. So yeah, so thanks for let me
Thank you for sharing.
a little bit of that, and anybody interested, please, we're more than welcome to show you more.
And then with Greg?
Yeah, so we actually started our business in Singapore, and we're very, very deliberate in choosing Hong Kong as our second market. I wanted to move back to Hong Kong. I'm originally from Hong Kong, so I had the opportunity to move back about 2 years ago. And Hong Kong's an awesome place to live. Who agrees? Everyone. Hong Kong is probably one of the best cities in the world to live. But more importantly, I think very similar problems we were addressing, fast aging population. I think that incumbents are probably eating more than they deserve. There's probably some incumbents in the room here. In terms of fees and the types of solutions and product innovation that's happening in the market, as compared to what is available, globally, as well. But I think very, very importantly, for a long time, Hong Kong was the window for the world into China. And it's very, very clear from a lot of regulation, a lot of what the politicians are saying, that Hong Kong will remain a different system and is a window for China to the world. And it's also been very clear that the Chinese, from a wealth management perspective, are looking to diversify. They're looking to invest globally. And the Wealth Connect system, a lot of developments happening have been to put a safe framework in place for them to be able to invest globally through Hong Kong's mature infrastructure. So I think, to serve this incredibly important economy at some point, we have very, very few Chinese onshore clients today. Most of our clients are domestic Hong Kong people and some expatriates and things like that. But it's critically important that you are in Hong Kong, and it will remain critically important for many, many decades to come.
And I remember in one of your videos, you mentioned about why you had come up with this solution as well too, because I think you were quite fed up with what was existing. Maybe you can share a bit about that?
Yeah, I think technology has made it possible to deliver a much better service at scale. We're not pure technology, so we have human client advisors as well, but technology is actually a much safer way to serve clients. And once clients, and we have clients in their 90s, we have 18-year-olds, we have 90-year-olds using the platform every day. Ideally not every day. We don't want them to be moving around stuff every day. But they can check their account every day. And it's very, very easy to use once you adopt it. And it can be intimidating at first, but once you adopt, you actually realize that you don't want to maybe talk to a human that often. Although the human is still there if you want it. And AI is going to change this game again over the next sort of 5-10 years for sure. But it's personally, I was fed up with having been missold a few times and not understanding why. But once you dig into it, and actually, this is aside, but my first role was at UBS in the investment bank, selling private equity to institutional LPs around the world. Actually, the Canadians have some of the most sophisticated endowments in the world. You know, CPPIB, OTPP, et cetera, a lot of acronyms of things. And that was an inspiration to starting in Dallas, because I did not understand why the way they thought about investing for the future of Canada, or any sovereign, for example, or endowment, was so different from the way my parents were investing or I was investing, and the way that my friends would talk about investing, or what I now call speculating, over lunch. So, so that was the realization that something was needed, a new platform was needed with a new business model to fix these problems, and that was the genesis of Endowus.
So one of the most important thing, I think, is that people are asking, well, how much money do I need to set up an account, right? So can you share to that?
What a plug. Okay. So we set the minimum pretty low. Most of our clients don't enter at that rate, but it's 10,000 Hong Kong dollars in Hong Kong to start investing on the platform, and you already get access to institutional fees, which is pretty shocking. So a lot of the funds, if you realize the fund business, funds have many different share classes. This is, again, something I didn't understand before. And sometimes the retail share class, the institutional share class, can be like a 1% difference in fees. That's massive, and it compounds to be massive. But we've actually worked with all of these managers to waive a lot of those minimums for our clients, because they see us as a wholesale client. So in essence, we're able to group buy for all of our clients. And again, this is only possible because of the adoption of technology. It wouldn't be scalable or a business otherwise.
Thank you so much, Greg. So I think for those who have kids, you can start them young. All the Lycee money coming up in February. The red packet Lunar New Year money, save it, and you know where to put it in. Okay, so Ken, please share.
So, I mean, TCMs is an obvious answer to why I'm here, but the deeper answer is more to do with I should also say, first of all, we're not going to compete against pharma companies. We're going to support pharma companies. We're just going to be an alternative to picking up the phone and having some chemicals shipped to them. So maybe our competitors are the existing chemical companies supplying chemicals to the pharma companies, but the pharma companies themselves need to do the things they do good at: the clinical trials, the drug manufacturing, the distribution. So we're not going to think we're going to take on the world in pharma. We're the absolute opposite to that. We're plugging in to help them. And so, and here's a big reason why I'm here. In Canada, we had just around 3,000 applications of our product onto human beings, onto Canadians that were suffering with their condition, and we optimized our formula, okay, because it's all plants, before the phase 3 trial. Half of all phase 3 trials fail. That's 500 million to $1 billion in a trial. Half fail. And so when you have the data, knowing your endpoint before you start that phase 3, in fact, we have 5 medical journals published our data. They're calling that real-world evidence data now. That data shapes whether do you even do the phase 3 trial or not. Are you going to compete and make a better product or a safer product? Well, if you're not with that formula, then you don't even move forward to phase 3. But down in Hong Kong, I'm moving into the Greater Bay Area Clinic. Oh no, I'm moving into the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park, and as a participant in the park, we get access to the Greater Bay Area Clinical Trial Research Institute, and there's 86 million people in the Greater Bay Area that we're able to. We have a product coming up for diabetes. We can start putting diabetes products to patients, monitor the first 50 patients, optimize that formula, try it on another different 50 patients, until where we get it to the point we're really happy with our result. Then we move forward with the clinical trials. So the ecosystem of where we're placed, the patent tax box, the access to the clinical trials, these are all the factors of why we're here in Hong Kong. And then obviously the gateway into China and the rest of Asia. But it's really about how we move on that development pathway to a drug and then test that on humans before we move on to more expensive clinical trials. And that's really the big point about why we're here in Hong Kong.
Thank you so much, Ken. So, because you have sort of moved here now, my understanding is that correct?
Well, yes. Unfortunately, I haven't been in Canada very much in the last 5 years. COVID got me stuck in Australia for 3 of them. And then, yeah, just been so busy. But our weather in Canada doesn't make sense for a...
For anything.
Let me finish. For a large production facility, okay? We have these bioreactors that are around 2,000 square feet, and you put a lot of them into a building, and when I'm talking about getting the plant to be the standard deviation, it's as detailed as the water that's coming into that building, chemistry, the chemical or the mineral content changes throughout the year. The air changes throughout the year. I have to bring the air into the building, standardize that air, and enclose standardizing means the temperature. And when it's minus 10 or 30 or 40, I have to heat all that air up. Okay, and so it doesn't make sense economically to be stationed in Canada for a large production facility. Our R&D facility there, we'll have an R&D facility in Switzerland, and we're building bigger R&D centers in Asia, but we're focusing on Asia for our big production. So the average daytime temperatures year-round, because we get 6.5 years of outside crop growing seasons in our systems. Well, that means we're growing 24 hours a day, and you want that average temperature to be within this bandwidth. So that's another factor.
But Ken, I know you also have the R&D centers actually with University of Guelph. Is that right?
Well, that's a good point. And when we were talking about that, or they're talking about that connection to universities, all of our work has been done with universities. So the University of Guelph in Canada, La Trobe University in Australia, University of Sydney in Australia, and so Hong Kong Baptist University here now in Hong Kong. And those collaborations are important for us, obviously, to help develop that technology. It's a Canadian, it was based on a Canadian researcher in Guelph that was working with NASA to grow plants on Mars, way before Musk started talking about living on Mars. 25 years ago, NASA wanted to know, could anything from Earth grow on Mars? And I ran into that professor at a conference in Toronto in 2012, and I waited my turn to talk to him, and I asked him, can you put Earth in there? And he's like, yes, but why would you do that? And I'm like, well, because I think that if we could standardize the environment to a tight enough window, we could then standardize the plant that we put into that environment. And so he said, well, that's a really good idea, he thinks. And so I went to meet him and then invested money into a research collaboration, got the Ontario government to put some money in, got the federal government to put some money in, and we spent years to go from when I walked in there, the chamber was this big. Sorry, just a small little bench model chamber. And it took 5 years of building it and breaking it and building it and breaking it to scale it to the global, or to a size where you could make a drug for a global market. I think that in 17, when we had it standardized, the plant standardized, we weren't going to reinvent the wheel. And so I found a German company that was extracting plants in the 1800s. And I went and talked to them. It took me 6 months of pounding on the door to get through the door. But when they finally agreed to meet me, on that first day I met them. This is a Bavarian 90-year-old company, 4th generation, signed an MOU on that day. And then he flew 10 days later to Canada, walked through our chambers, and said, my engineers said, this is impossible. And I'm like, right away in my head's going, the NDA, we got all that. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. And I said, Martin, what do you mean you're engineers? Well, Ken, global climate change it's affected the quality of the plants that we're getting from nature. And we're extracting compounds in these plants and selling them to pharma. So on our pharma side, we've seen a 25-year decline in quality of plants from global warming, and our future is tied on the pharma side to growing scale. And our engineers said, you doctored that video, because we had a video done. Of course, I showed them this video, and they thought it wasn't real. And so then he comes and looks at it and was blown away by what that was. And he owns 15% of the company today, and he provides us with German drug manufacturing, the largest lab testing plants in Europe, an extraction company that's extracting 200 different types of plants, selling it off to pharma. And so he runs 34 facilities around the world, including in China. So they're a very important strategic partner that came in to help us take the standardized plant to the finished drug format.
Great. Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing that. So you can see there's a lot of tech involved. Anybody who wants to know more can talk to Ken later also. You have a booth inside.
Yes.
I know in Dallas, right, you also have a booth inside. And I know you have some special offer. I saw some lucky packets for those kids who needs it as well too. But let me switch it up a little bit, because I know with your company, you've actually been really lucky in getting a lot of benefits from the Canadian ecosystem, from the startup ecosystem. Can you talk a little bit about that as well too?
Yeah, sure, you bet. Yeah, we've been very privileged to have, like I said earlier, Invest Alberta helping us, really start in the Calgary ecosystem. A lot of that city support there. But more importantly, I think it's interesting how there's a chain reaction effect. I find in Canada where one program kind of gets you visibility for another one to take on, et cetera. So, for example, we were very fortunate to be in the Creative Destruction Lab Rockies program out of University of Calgary. And from there, we got, it's a top notch. If anybody don't know about CDL and you're in deep tech, you definitely need to know about CDL because it's a world class program that's now probably with all the companies combined over $20 billion of capitalization, really nurturing early stage companies, but very deep tech from a university research level. So from that, we got into NRC IRAP, so National Research Council, so the federal government support system, and now we have somebody who helps us, and you would think that's research, but actually it's actually go to market. So that's really interesting. We then got into Plug and Play and into another program to support. So waves of support, very, very interesting because, I'm familiar with the programs over here with Science Park or Cyberport or the new HKCBA, where, it's longer duration programs, 3 years, and you're just administrating yourself through, different grants along the way, and it's a little more homework that way. But, yeah, so there, at the sum it up, I guess the federal government level has, NRC IRAP, provincial levels have the Invest Alberta, kind of university level has CDL, and now we're actually with the Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst program, which is Ontario funded operated with resources from TMU. So yeah, I've been very privileged, and it just helps you mature along the way as a small company with limited resources, limited bandwidth, needing to get to market. I guess you can say it's a just enough. It's what you need to take out of it is very DIY, do it yourself. DIY, sorry, versus over here, I think it's for anybody landing over here, get ready to get on the train, so to speak. That goes on for a little longer, but over there is much more up to you to take it where you will. And for an entrepreneur, that fits us with some maturity. And yeah, happy to answer any questions from there.
Well, that'll be great. So just in case, I know Gregory, not to silo you. We still like you. You're not. So the key thing is that his company is not Canadian yet. So I shared with him a little bit earlier, Invest Hong Kong as of June of last year can help companies to go global together with TCS and Canadian Consulate side. So we would love to actually help other companies to thinking of who's set up in Hong Kong already, but they want to go elsewhere. They can always have a chit chat with our Invest Hong Kong colleagues out here and then see how we can help them further. But in your case, we know you have a particular affinity for Canadians who are in Hong Kong. Can you share a little bit more data? Because I think that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we were surprised by this, but it kind of reminded, because we've been operating in Singapore for longer, and when we started in Hong Kong, we started seeing a lot of Canadian engagement, which actually is just because the demographic here is very skewed Canadian. I think it's like something like 300,000 Canadians in Hong Kong, which is crazy because there's, what, 7 million people or something. So it's a huge, huge number of Canadians. And then, you know, the Canadian Chamber was very proud to tell me that in Singapore, there's like less than 10,000 Canadians. So,
Thanks for sharing that fact. That was important.
and then in terms of government support, I think Singapore government's actually been a shareholder of Endowus for quite a long time, so it just creates some competition. Hong Kong and Canada can also become shareholders. No, but jokes aside, I think geographic expansion is something we are seriously considering, very focused on developed markets. Probably not the US, which is very crowded in I think what we do. I think people do many, many variations of what we do, and we have a very strict philosophy on how we do it. But actually, Canada has come up quite a few times recently for people wanting to bring our solution to Canada because they see it as a gap in the sort of the mass affluent segment. I think there's a lot happening in the high net worth as there always has been, and there's a lot happening in the sort of first-time investor segment. But as people graduate, the mass affluent segment is often missed out by both sides. So the incumbents move up, and the guys who serve the mass are unable to sort of find a service or sophistication to serve the mass affluent as their wealth journey matures. So Canada's been a very interesting place to explore for that.
Thank you, Greg. So this is interesting. You heard this, right? Actually, it is actually finding Canadians in Hong Kong to actually help you with your business. So you can see how Hong Kong has become such an international place, right? It just brings everyone together. Business can be free flow anywhere in the world you want. That's the beauty of it. And so maybe we'll open up to the floor. Anybody maybe has got questions for lovely panelists here? Any questions? They'll probably go to your booth later. If there is, we'll do it. But I think one of the things maybe, to think about in terms of like moving forward, right? Because I know each company, as an entrepreneur, it's never an easy journey. There's so much, challenges on a day-to-day basis to face. There's everything you have to look into because all of you guys are taking on the CEO, CTO, co-founder, 24/7, every day. So what do you think is the best way? I'm just thinking a bit more of the mental health, just for those with budding entrepreneurs out there. How do you deal with some downtime? How do you actually, how do you decompress even? Ken, why don't we start with you?
Some of the people that work with me in the building, there'll be some people over at our booth there, don't understand how you can work 20 hours a day every day for months. And so here's the key. I don't need the downtime. No, and it's if you are so passionate about what you're doing that when you go to bed for those 5 to 6 hours sleep, whatever you get each night, I sleep. And then I wake up in the morning, I am so energized to attack the next day. Okay, it's stop what you're doing if you're not passionate about what you're doing as a business. And I was fortunate to get paid to play. I'm an ex-minor league hockey player, and so my career was over. I was thinking, wow, this is work. No, this is really work, And when I found this, it was like I'm playing. They're paying me to do this. Well, of course, you don't get paid much, but not yet. But it's finding that passion, and I think yes, you try to get that downtime day once a week, somewhat, but in Canada, it's work day at night. You guys know that, but I work in Germany and I work in Australia, and so it's just around the clock. But if you're that passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work. It's just.
Yep, agree.
So sorry, I'm not a good one to talk about the mental health side of that.
So all the budding entrepreneurs who came with us on this trip, remember this, you have to love it. It's a passion.
Yeah.
If you don't love it, you can't do it. So keep that in mind. What about the advice from Greg?
Go skiing in Canada.
Explain why.
No, I mean, Canada skiing is the best. I mean, I think inland is fantastic, but that's a different conversation. I think, for me, I don't think I can do what you're doing. I can't do 20-hour days, 7 days a week. But having the purpose is critically important. And, we're usually underpaying people. We're underpaying ourselves, but we believe in the purpose of what we're doing, which is why we work so hard to make it possible, even when many have said it is going to be very, very hard or not possible. And it's just about putting one foot in front of the next. And so after I was at UBS, I joined Grab when it was, Grab is like an Uber app in Singapore, but covering Southeast Asia. And I was able to I was lucky to start the payment business there. So at the time, Grab was taxi only and cash only, if you can believe that. So, you would book a car on the platform, and then at the end of the ride, you have to take out cash to pay the driver. I mean, that's when I joined, 2015 to 2017. And what I realized from that journey, and this is for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, is very passionate about doing something. What I realized is that from the outside, it looks like they know what they're doing, but from the inside, they actually have no clue. They're just doing the logical next step, but they really believe in what they're doing, and I think we've successfully brought that over to Endowus.
Thank you so much for sharing. So remember, again, you find a problem, you try to resolve it, and you keep plugging at it, but also with a bit more than 4 hours of sleep, not like Ken. And Francis, what about you?
He's probably got some plant drugs
exactly.
that are
I did-
helping him.
He's got some good stuff in his pockets. He's
Stuff
not
that's in
willing
the
to share.
trial stage.
You said it, Greg. I did it, okay? For the record. So Francis.
Okay, so I'm looking for that good stuff in his pocket as well. But I guess, that totally resonates. I mean, I'm having the time of my life. As you guys know, some of you know, I've been 25 years in corporate, running teams, Asia Pac, but also global teams before with, U.S. tech, Dell, Cisco, those type of guys. And, starting stuff 0 to 1 for them in new practices. But then this opportunity came up about 2 years ago, and I started to do something for myself for the first time with amazing team members. So I think that's the other thing. You got to have great team members who, can help you learn, to help you take on, even though you have a position of leadership. It's that ability to, kind of bounce stuff off each other that keeps that passion or that purpose going. Right, and obviously the technology is new, and that as an engineer, we like to build new shiny things. So this is a pretty shiny thing that I'm really passionate about. So besides the team, I think the other thing I used to maybe take off stress or decompress a little bit was, you heard about the Iron Ring Centennial Conference that I just had. So I was lucky enough to be part of the organizing committee, and preparing some of that stuff was to decompress from the day-to-day of thing, even though we're up even later than we thought. But that was a huge success. It's just being part of stuff that really have significance, and be very privileged to have that, and remind yourself that's what keeps you going. And yeah, so.
So what you're saying is that work is full-time. No, your project is, your baby is your full-time, but also the fact that you volunteer to decompress. So keep in mind that might be a good way to do that, all right? It's 24/7, so as you can see. So you know what? I know time is close already. So why don't we give a big round of applause to our lovely entrepreneurs who gave share today. Thank you so much, Francis, Greg, and Ken.
Thank you.